Today, I want to talk about measures and dimensions in Tableau. A dimension is like a variable, and it's typically not numerical. So it doesn't have numbers. It's like category, for instance. We got category, your furniture, your office supplies, country, customer ID. That's basically your dimensions. Now, the measures are what you're measuring. So you got discount, profit, quantity, and green. So when we move over, let's say quantity, we're going to see a different value. Those are your measures. Or if you want to see sales, we can move that over and see all those numbers in there. Those are your measures. So think blue is your dimensions or the top categories, such as subcategory. You want to see subcategory, it's going to show you the subcategories for those certain things. And measures are the green. So and they'll have a little numerical value on them. Typically, that's not always the case, but most of the time, unless they're a string value, such as words, it's going to be numerical. So you can see right here in measures, you're able to do analysis on. So if we go over here and we click totals, for instance, we could do totals at all subtotals. So it's going to give you all subtotals for each category. You can even go on the side here. So that's kind of the idea, is you're able to perform calculations on measures that are going to have substantiality. Now you could just, you can't really do much when it comes to dimensions, because dimensions, just you put them on here, right? And let's say you have region, you want to see like region broken down. Well, you have to have the region, but you're not going to have any numbers. So dimensions don't have the numbers. And that's something that some people kind of struggle with. But what if you want to figure out more about measures? You can filter by this. So you can do count of orders, discount. Those are the things we're missing. Those are our measures. So it will actually list those and you can click apply. But if you ever like are not sure, for instance, what measures are, you can actually go over here to the filter by and you can do filter by measure. And that's going to give you all the measures that are on your sheet. Or you can do filter by dimension. And that's going to give you all the dimensions that are on your sheet, which didn't show anything. Or you can do filter by calculation, which is none. So I think these little things, so just make sure you have it right where it's a D and you can see the dimensions. And calculations is the other field. So if you want to do that, but there's no calculations. Now, if you wanted to create a calculation, you can do it right here. Create calculation, create perimeter, but they're not the same thing as measures and dimensions. You may notice, like for instance, when you get a category, if you right click on it, you can see dimension, attribute. So attribute's a little bit different and it doesn't have the same idea, but I would mainly as a beginner leave it at dimension. You need to use attribute. So, and then you can always change it to a measure. You can do maximum, minimum. So if we change it to maximum, we're going to see the maximum ones. If we change it to the different categories, count distinct, you're going to get distinct counts. But just know if you add, let's say, a discrete category, you are going to basically change that type of calculation. I do want to show that to you really quick. So we're going to do that. So let's say we go to region, we see dimension, and we have dimension. That's exactly what we want it set up. But sometimes when we do this, let's just clear out everything and you right click it. You can convert to a measure. So you can always convert a value to a measure. You can even change the data types. Maybe it's not coming across correctly within Tableau. That is something you can do. And you can create hierarchies and even group them together. So there's a lot of things you can do with the dimensions, but measures, you can right click it and you can convert them to discrete, for instance. And when you do that, it's just going to be like this, where it's a number. Now, when you flip it back from discrete to continuous, you get a continuous and you get a bar. It kind of changes it into a dimension. So just know that if you change it, a measure to continuous, it will turn into a bar graph. If you don't do that and you change it back to discrete, it's just like an aggregation or an end value, the final value that you have there. So you can kind of mess with those and do different things. You probably want to go this way. So flip it back that way so it actually makes sense. So you see what you're doing, but you can see how quickly you can kind of figure out things by just right clicking and changing things if you need to. And if you want to like do maximum or whatever works for your particular thing. But just know the blue is your dimensions typically. And then your measures are below this little bar. There's a little bar here. You may not be able to see it. There's a little bar. and anything below that is a measure. So dimensions are above the bar, such as category, things that are not numerical, and then your measures are below, which is obviously numerical or numbers or aggregations that you can go on and do. But if you don't want to see the bar charts, you can just change it over, and you want to do change it over to a dimension, and you want to do discrete to get the numbers to come back. Now you can do different things that allow you to, such as a color map and see colors and do things like that that make it look really cool, but we're not doing that today. We just want you to understand what these measures are and what these dimensions are. And just having an awareness of that is going to help you tremendously within Tableau to figure out how to do different graphs and stuff. Because the reason why I say that is you see the dimensions and the measures. Dimensions are blue here to create different chart types. So you can really go deep into creating different chart types because you know the measures are blue. Over here, this says 0 measures. This says 1 or more measures. So 0 dimensions, 1 or more measures for a horizontal bar chart. Or you go over here, we've qualified for this. But what if we want to say use this? You have to have a date to do these charts. So that's good to know. So the date is actually part of a dimension still. But if you go over here, we drop date, we get the option to start using those graphs. So just kind of look down here on your Show Me tab to see different ones. Now you may notice the map, those are geospatial. You have to have a measure, a geo measure, a geo dimension. So in order to do that, we have to have like city. And when we get that, we then have the ability to create maps and things like that that allow it to go a little bit deeper. But again, we just so you know this is possible. So I think that's the main thing is the more you understand this, the easier the Show Me tab is going to be. And then you can start creating some cool things and start editing things and doing like that allow you to kind of change things up and make really cool charts and designs just by understanding how dimensions and measures work to create these quick graphs that come with Tableau by just understanding how that works. So I think that's a cool thing. Now let's say you want to go deeper. You have some other things here you can create, but you're not always going to be able to create it because you have to have everything set up a certain way. So that's kind of the setup here, but I think that will get you at least on the right path for beginners, understanding dimensions and measures and how they work and where they're located and how you can create some really cool things within Tableau very quickly. Watch the next videos on this channel. Tons of Tableau videos, honestly, and this one is really good, so I definitely think you should check it out.